We'll give it just a second to allow some people some time to roll in. It always takes just a second to allow people the opportunity to get logged in. So we'll get started here just momentarily. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for our webinar. We are really excited to have Liz Jamison back with us again. My name is Mandy Bailey, and I'm the Advising and Education Director for the Wyoming Community Navigator Program. I'm going to be working behind the scenes with any technical difficulties, chat, questions, Q&A, all of that. So if anything arises, be sure to send me a chat. And make sure you're monitoring the chat as well as we post helpful links throughout. Just to give you a little bit of information about the Wyoming Community Navigator Program, we are funded through the U.S. Small Business Administration, and we utilize the Wyoming Entrepreneurial Support Network to reduce barriers that all small businesses often face, including those owned by groups such as veterans, women, rural communities, and communities of color. We do this utilizing a hub and spoke model to pursue our goals. Through the collective efforts, the hub and spokes provide training, access to capital, and access to other resources to help small business owners build resiliency and ultimately be the driving force behind Wyoming's economic recovery. Today, we are going to be hearing from Liz Jamison. Just to give you a little bit of background, Liz owned a website design and development firm for many years, where she began to coach entrepreneurs in branding, sales, and marketing. There, she worked on an online presence, collateral, and copy for over 100 different small businesses. Liz has extensive background with the Washington Small Business Development Center, and she is a certified business advisor. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Liz, and thank you once again for joining us. You're on mute there.
Thank you. So sorry. I was just saying thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad to be able to be here to be of support to Wyoming businesses. So hopefully we'll have a great conversation today and kind of dig into this topic. And since we have a small group, we'll have a good time for Q&A and some discussion perhaps towards the end there. Yeah, and then we'll talk through, maybe how to apply some of the principles that we discussed today in your own situation. So with that said, let me pull up my slides and we'll get started. Okay. Everybody see my screen okay?
Yep, we can see that.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so today we're talking about how to clarify your niche or ideal client profile. Sometimes I call it avatar client, right? That ideal client persona. There's a lot of different words for this, right? But it's really, really useful to know exactly who you want to market to, right? Who's very likely to say yes, right? That way you can be strategic with your marketing dollars and spend them, your marketing dollars, your marketing time and energy and attention and focus, right? All of those scarce resources that we all have to manage, you can direct at the just right person who's very likely to say yes and convert into being a buyer. So that's what we're going to dig into today. So thank you so much for carving out the time to be here today. Yeah, planning actually makes a really big difference, right? You hear those stats of, so 85% or something like that, percentage of small businesses fail in their first 5 years. Why is that, right? And what's the difference in those who make it and those who don't? Well, one of the key distinctions is actually planning, having a plan, having a clear intention, and working your plan, right? And I would say that, sheer determination is maybe the other one, right? Just sheer, sometimes people call us entrepreneurs stubborn, determined, persistent, use whichever word you want, but it can be a great quality to bring to the table in business. So anyway, kudos to you for carving out time to show up and actually work on your business, not only in your business, right? It's easy to get sucked into, putting out fires all the time and working in your business. But when you carve out the time to actually work on the business, to develop systems and structures, for instance, that will allow you to support more volume, now you're, preparing yourself for growth. You can take on more momentum and so on. You increase your capacity really as a business. So thanks for that. You can type into the chat function there, whatever questions that come up for you throughout our conversation today. And then at the end, we'll just take them one by one and kind of go through those questions. And my hope is that, you'll be able to see how to apply this information in your own particular circumstances, and that you can leave today with a little list of homework, right? What are your own personal next steps regarding our conversation today that you can take? So I hope that you'll create a little action plan for yourself as we're talking here, and then be able to take that with you. So I'm Liz Jamison. I'm a certified business advisor and now also a certified global business professional. Just got that credential, so super excited. My master's is in educational leadership, specializing in experiential education, right? The kind of work that we do as entrepreneurs, right? We are, real life, game on the playing field, learning, right? As we do business and as we create and develop our business. So that's the kind of learning that I really love. And I used to run a women's business center. I'm now an SBDC advisor, and I've coached over 1,100 entrepreneurs, and over 11,000 people have participated in my personal development, leadership, marketing, and business trainings over the last few decades. So hopefully it comes through at every juncture. I'm super passionate about this. It's my life's work. It's not just a job for me. It's, I feel like the best use of me is to empower you to make a difference in your own community, to be able to support your own family, give yourself and your family the lifestyle that you want, right? So anyway, that's why I'm here and why I do this work. As Mandy mentioned, I started my entrepreneurial journey in 1998 when I started a website design and development firm. I saw the opportunity in the marketplace at that time. Every business owner knew they had to get a website. Some didn't have one yet. Some had, a bad first version, and they knew they had to get a better version in order to keep up with the Joneses in their industry. And so that's really where I started to coach entrepreneurs. I had to help them get clear, right? Who they were as a brand and how they wanted to, who they were trying to reach, how they wanted to position themselves vis-a-vis their competitors, what messaging would resonate with their particular avatar client, and so on, right? So that's kind of where it all started. So I'm strong in all things marketing and e-com, online marketing, that kind of world. I like to geek out on all that. So the agenda for today, I'll just talk a little bit about, what the SBDC is, and then we'll dig into clarifying your ideal client. We'll talk about both demographics and psychographics, what those are and how to find them for your particular people. And then we'll talk also about clarifying your messaging. And I'll use the term also your brand language, right? We'll talk some more about what that is and how to develop your own brand language so that your messaging is effective and actually resonates with that avatar client or ideal client persona. So the SBDC provides one-to-one confidential, no-cost business advising services, and hopefully you're availing yourselves of those. Entrepreneurship can be a lonely path at times, and it's great to have someone in on it with you, right? That understands what you're trying to create and can help you get there, right? Celebrate victories together, create action plans together, can act as a sounding board or accountability partner, and connect you to tools and resources. Any business topic is fair game to bring to the table to talk with your SBDC advisor, right? So we help people with everything from financing to matchmaking you with lenders who might potentially be able to fund your project, to human resources issues and recruitment, to operations, marketing, sales, exporting, really any business topic. So these are some of the kinds of things that we can help people with. Oh, also I'll mention the purchase and sale of businesses. So buying and selling a business potentially is another kind of thing that we can help with. And we do financial checkups and so on. Yeah. So all that is available to you. Make good use of it, right? I hope. Okay, so let's dig into the whole ideal client situation, right? For some people, it feels pretty challenging to kind of clarify or narrow down who is this avatar client. So there is a bit of a chicken and egg dilemma related to this topic, right? Does my ideal client, choose me after I put a product out there, or do I choose them, right? In business sequencing, what should come first? Choosing my target audience or choosing my product design? Well, some of the folks who would advocate for lean startup, for instance, lean startup is a particular philosophy of doing business, right? It involves staying in close touch with your prospects and your customers at every juncture and actually developing things based on what they say they need and want. So the lean startup people would probably say, pick who you want to serve, start talking to them, right? And then develop your product. Other people come to the table of business with a product maybe already in mind, or an area of expertise that you know really well, and you're passionate about providing that product or service within that area. And so then you just have to match up with where that demand is, right? This is one of the missing pieces, I think, in the conversation about, do what you love and the money will follow, right? I agree with doing what you love, right? It doesn't feel like work at all when you're doing what you love, but you also have to find an audience or a market that's a match for that wants to buy it, right? So where there's a love, expertise, skill set, and it matches up with a particular target audience or market that's hungry for that product or service, now we're in business, right? Now we have a great conversation going and we can make something of it because of that match between those two elements. So when it comes to the chicken and the egg, I would say, you can pick. You can pick whether you're going to start with the chicken or the egg. It's all good. But eventually you're going to address both, right? So for some of you, you might choose who is it you want to serve. Maybe that's why you got into business to begin with, right? Maybe there's a particular group or community that matters to you that you want to make a difference with, right? Maybe you're an insider to that group yourself. Some people will get started in business that way with a clear, avatar client in mind, the people we want to serve, and maybe in a particular way we want to serve them. Others may come to the table going, which kind of business should I start? What are the products or services I might want to offer? And they'll look at that piece first and then go, okay, who's interested in that particular product or service? And one great question to ask yourself is, who would really value the product and service that you want to offer the most? To whom is my product worth the most? That's a really important question, right? Because for a lot of entrepreneurs, right, there's maybe a bunch of different people that might be interested, or a bunch of different groups that might be interested in a particular product or service, but some of them might value it more than others, right? So as you go to clarify who your avatar client is, your ideal client, be thinking, who would really value what I offer the most? Who does it make the most difference with? And that brings up a question of pricing as well. We won't digress too far down that road today, but consider when you're putting together your pricing, what's it worth to them, right? A lot of us look at, oh, what's it cost me to make? How much can I mark it up? What are my competitors charging? So, there's a lot of different elements to consider, but I just want to invite you kind of as a bonus conversation here. When you're doing your pricing, consider what is the value to them, the person receiving it, not only what's it cost you to make, or what do you think it's worth? What is it worth to them to have it, right? And by considering this factor, you can help to see who would actually be willing to pay the most for what it is that you offer, right? Because it has such extreme value to them, right? And hopefully all of you are looking at, okay, whatever I'm offering, product or service, whatever it may be, maybe a combination, hopefully the value to them is way higher than anything you're charging people. And if you get that clear in yourself, that can completely alter your sales conversations, right? If you know the value to them is way higher than anything you're charging, you will have confidence in your sales conversations and you will not feel guilty about selling, right? Because you know the value of what you have to offer. All right. So, a lot of people, as we're talking through, avatar client, ideal client profile, some of you will have more than one, right? You might have one main avatar client, or maybe you have two or maybe even three different avatar client profiles or ideal client profiles. So some of the things that you can consider are you might have different avatar clients because of the different sales channels you use. And maybe there are different people who show up to participate with you or engage with you in each of these sales channels or formats, right? Maybe you have a retail store, brick and mortar. You might also have an e-com operation. Maybe you sell at farmers markets every weekend, right? Different audiences might show up for each one of these, or maybe the same audience shows up for each one of these. It's good to look, though, to see, is it my same avatar that's interested in my product and service that's coming from all these different places? Or is it a little bit different avatar? And how can I customize my product or service for that avatar who participates with me in a particular way, right? For some of you, you might do B2C, that is business to consumer, business to client, right? B2C. And your avatar clients might be differentiated by the age demographic that they fall into. So when we talk demographics, right, the data about people, the age demographic is a critical piece, right? That's usually the most important demographic piece to know, because there are a lot of things we can customize based on the preferences of each of the age generations that's out there now. It tells us something about that person, perhaps their values and so on. So some of you might have more than one avatar because some fall into one generation, some fall into another generation of people that you serve. It's useful to clarify what are the traits and characteristics of each one of those if you have a couple different avatars, maybe that fall into different generations in terms of how they identify. Yeah. Let's see here. Some of you might be doing B2B, right? Business to business, or B2G, right? Business to government, right? Maybe you sell into public entities. So for any of these, whether it's B2C, B2B, or B2G, you still want to get to know who your avatar client is so you can speak directly into what they're thinking, right? Anytime in marketing, when we can enter the conversation already going on in our customer's head about our product or service, we're going to be more effective, right? We want to that's why we're talking today also about clarifying our message so that we can make sure our message is actually resonant over there with our prospect, right? Who is that avatar client? So I recommend that just as you begin to look at this conversation, or maybe you've already delved into it some, just pick, let's say, one or two top avatar clients, right? You might have a broad audience, but pick, one or two specific avatars that you can market to, right? And the reason is we all have limited resources, right? We have limited time, limited money, and limited energy and attention and focus, right? That we can put into the business overall and that we can put into marketing specifically. So anytime you invest one of those precious resources, right, of time, money, or your energy and attention and focus, you want to have some kind of return on that investment of that resource, right? And so in marketing, you always want to be looking for that return on investment, right? ROI, return on investment. What am I getting back out of the time or money or both that I put into something, my marketing effort? Yeah. So I have these handmade soaps here on this slide, just to demonstrate, a possible scenario. Let's say if I make these handmade soaps, maybe I sell my soaps retail on e-commerce. That could be, maybe I have a retail shop. Maybe I sell them wholesale to other shops and I try to get my product into other retail stores locally, something like that. Or maybe I private label my soaps for other brands. So I make the soaps and I put somebody else's brand on them and sell them to them that way. So they sell them like their own. Or maybe I, make the raw materials, let's say, for soaps, and I sell those raw materials to other soap manufacturers, something like that. Right. But any way around, I want to understand who my customer is, right? So that, again, I can enter the conversation already going on in their head about my product or service and understand how they think about buying, right? How do they make their buying decisions when it comes to soap in this case, right? So hopefully this is helping you think through all these things. So, make some notes about, who your avatar client is. And, you don't want to have a whole boatload of avatar clients, right? It will make you ineffective if you have too many, right? So try to focus and just pick, let's say, one or two, maybe even have three, but then it starts to get really challenging after that, right? Because you can dilute your brand language. And if you're too broad, right, it will occur, you won't resonate with anyone, right? So just pick one or two, I suggest, important, ideal client profiles, and do your marketing, direct your marketing to them, right? The people who are likely to convert, who highly value your product or service, they're going to be much more likely to say yes to whatever you offer them. So we want to find out who is this avatar. And here are the kinds of or pieces of information that we want to find out about them to clarify this avatar. We're going to find out the demographics about them, right? Which is the data about them, right? They live in a certain zip code or county. They're married or not. They have kids or not. They drive a certain kind of car. They have certain hobbies and interests. They have a certain annual household income. They join certain clubs. They go to a certain church. It can be all kinds of different things, right? So, and again, perhaps the most important piece of the demographics to clarify for yourself is the age range. What generation do they identify with? And why is that age demographic so important? because it tells you which social media platform is your most important one to be on, right? You can have a presence on all the platforms if you like, right? But none of us as small business owners have time to, spend all our time producing content for every social media platform, right? We've got to pick and choose and be strategic. And our age demographic of our prospect and customer is going to tell us what our most important platform to be on is, so that we can, have a strong presence on that platform, begin to build momentum there, invest our time in that one, etc. Because that's where our avatar is visiting all the time, right? That's the most likely way to maybe get in front of them. So that's why the age demographic is a huge deal. So we also want to find out, what are the psychographics of this ideal client? Psychographics are, how do they think and feel and make decisions about buying our particular product or service? What is that conversation going on in their head about why they should buy or not, right? This is all really important to know about your particular, how they think about your particular product or service. What do they value? What do they shop by or for when they're looking for someone like you or a product like yours, right? So this is where we really can get inside their head. So first, we're going to clarify the demographics. Then we know which population to delve into further and say, okay, what are the psychographics of this particular avatar? How do you find out the psychographics, right? You talk to your people. You talk to your avatar client, people who meet those demographic data. You have conversations with and listen to them, the way they speak about your product or service, how they shop, and so on. So that leads us right into clarifying your messaging, right? What will best speak to or resonate with that avatar? And then we're going to develop that messaging, those particular words and phrases that your prospects and your clients actually use. When you start hearing them over and over, right? That's a clue. That's a key. And you're going to use those same words and phrases to develop what we call your brand language, the way you speak on your website, the way you speak in your 1-minute pitch, if you go networking, what would be on a brochure maybe that you would offer. So again, when we say demographics, here's what we mean by that. Maybe it's age, education level can be a demographic data that might distinguish your avatar. Maybe all different kinds of identity, however that person identifies. It could be marital status, household income, maybe what profession they're in. Maybe it's the job title that your avatar holds. Particularly if you're doing B2B, you might be looking for someone who's like the purchasing agent, let's say. They hold that job title in particular kinds of companies, something like that, right? So the job title might be interesting. I'll give you an example of the profession distinction, right? And why that might matter. So at one time I was working with a landscape design company, and the area, was bigger than, what she could serve, but she particularly liked one area. I said, let's look, who is on your client list, right? What are the patterns that we can see if we look at your existing and past clients? What are the patterns that emerge, right? And we discovered that, all her best clients, they happen to be an attorney. And so now we could target her marketing to just attorneys who lived in the specific area where she liked to work. And we could be extremely effective at converting them into buyers, right? We could get referrals from the attorneys who had already used her services and so on. That's an example of something, you might not expect, but you don't know until you actually look at your list right, of clients and say, what do these people have in common? Another example is I worked with a doggy daycare, right? And so over time, we looked at that customer list and said, okay, what do these people have in common who bring in their dogs for dog daycare? Well, it turns out a lot of them were in the medical profession, right? Because they work 12-hour shifts, right? They work really long days. So they needed dog daycare, right? Unless there was someone else at home to tend to the dog, right? So now we could do our outbound marketing efforts and investments of time and energy and money to reach people in healthcare in the local area. And we know those people are highly likely to convert. They need this particular kind of service. So start thinking, who's in your customer list and what do they have in common? Yeah. You can also find out what are the hobbies and interests, let's say, of your customers. You're going to find that out in some conversations. Maybe what kind of vehicle they drive. It's really interesting to look at that. That's another interesting piece of demographic data. Where they're located is a piece of demographic data. It could be the zip code that they live in. It could be the neighborhood. Could be the city, the county, or the state, or however big or small you want to slice and dice your demographic and geographic data. Maybe you serve a certain area right around your shop, and it's, everybody within 5 square miles of my shop or 10 square miles of my shop, something like that. That's very geographic specific. Other businesses, maybe you're working online and you're not that geographic specific. You maybe serve a lot of people all around the state, something like that. So again, your age demographic is going to tell you which is the most native social media platform for your avatar. Where are they visiting, perhaps daily, sometimes even hourly? People are checking that social media platform. So that's a place where you can get in front of them. You also might look at what kind of publications does your avatar read? Do they get a subscription to particular magazines or newsletters? Are they a member of certain groups or associations, right? Sometimes you can buy those lists and market to those subscribers who will be interested in your product or service. And it could be that by knowing the demographics, you can easily find Facebook groups or other online groups where your avatar is congregating, right? So a friend of mine says, we go to the watering hole, right? So wherever the watering hole is for your avatar, if you go there, you're likely to meet some people who are your prospects, right? So we had to know what their watering holes are, so we know where to go and find them, both online and in person, right? So that we can build a relationship, demonstrate our expertise. We build that know, like, and trust, right? We buy from brands and humans that we know, like, and trust. So if you're in business, we are all the time, it's game on all the time, right? To build those relationships with people and have them come to know and like and trust us and our business. Yeah. Okay. So how do you find this demographic data? If you are doing B2C, right, business to consumer, there's a great tool called Reference USA, which was bought out recently, well, now a couple of years ago, maybe, by a company called Data Axle. So now it's called Reference USA by Data Axle. Many libraries they pay for access to this Reference USA database so that we, the public, can access it, right? So check with your local library or librarian, have them show you how to use Reference USA. And this tool, it lists all the businesses in the country, right? And you can slice and dice your data however you want. It also lists all the consumer households in the country, and I think in Canada as well. So you could say, show me you can do competitor research, you can do prospect research, right? You can say, if you do B2B, let's say I sell, I'm a sheet metal fabricator and I sell sheet metal to companies who make metal roofing. And well, I could look up in Reference USA, show me all the businesses in Wyoming who are metal roofing companies, something like that. I'm just making this up as I'm going along here, right? But you get the idea. So, or I could say, if I want to research my competitors, let's say I'm a web designer, I can say to Reference USA, show me all the web designers in Laramie, or show me all the web designers in Wyoming. Now, if I'm marketing to web designers, those could be my prospects, or I could try to find out where are all my competitors located. And some people use that information to decide where to place their business, right? Because they want to, you can look at a heat map, you can see where all your competitors are, and you can say, oh, okay, which areas are underserved for this particular product or service. So there's some really useful data there, right? Libraries, I don't know, they're kind of the unsung heroes, right? We don't think of them maybe as often as we should. And there's a lot of cool resources that they pay for us to have access to so that we can access them for free. Most of the time you have to have a library card to access these, but also most of the time you can get a library card for free. So that's something to check out. If you do business to business, you can use Lewis Howe's book called Linked Working. It's a particular book about how to use LinkedIn for business, right? To find leads, make connections with people, and have sales occur, right? Through LinkedIn. For some of you, maybe you market to public entities, like you do business with cities and counties and libraries and state agencies, or military bases, or the federal government, like any of these different kinds of public entities. So I've listed here some associations and organizations where there might be a membership directory, let's say, or bidding opportunities for you to work with public entities. And of course, in Wyoming, your Procurement and Technical Assistance Center is your local SBDC, right? So if you need help with which type of public entity should I target, maybe you want to, maybe you provide a curriculum and you want to get into school districts, something like that, then your SBDC people can help you clarify who is your ideal public entity client that you want to work with, and how to get in to have conversations with them, right? How to get into sales conversations with them, you know, what you need to do to get ready in order to be eligible to bid on those opportunities, or to effectively approach those entities and close deals. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully we're hitting the business to consumer side of life, the business to business side of life, and the business to government side of life here, in case any one of you might be doing each of these, or maybe some of you do all three. So, you know, and on the business to consumer side of life, you can, like I said, get, let's say, membership lists of certain associations, subscription lists for certain publications. You can, let's say, send a direct mail piece to a particular neighborhood if your business is very geographically specific, right? So there's lots of different ways here to clarify and identify who are the specific people that I want to target and how am I going to reach them. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, a lot of times we as entrepreneurs, we resist niching down or clarifying our avatar client because we don't want to exclude anyone. So I'm just going to say, don't exclude people, right? If you just spend your specific marketing dollars to reach your avatar, right? So that you have a good return on your investment. But if anybody else shows up and knocks on your door and they want to buy your product or your service, of course, you're going to sell it to them, right? If it's a fit to work with them, you're going to work with them, right? And by the way, there's so many win-win, 360-degree win kinds of deals out there. Like, why would you do anything else? Only do the deals that are a win-win, that are a win for everybody involved, right? Why would you do anything else? Because life is too short, just saying. It's not fun, and life's too short to have it, not go well for everybody and not be a good thing for everybody involved. So if we don't niche down and clarify our messaging and target our marketing, we try to market to everyone who breathes and can fog a mirror, then we resonate with no one, right? We don't occur for anybody like, oh yeah, that's exactly specifically just for me. That's exactly what I need, right? That's what you want your customer to say when they see your ad or offer, right? That's exactly, specifically, so for me, just what I want, just what I've been looking for, right? So we're going to use these demographics, this data, and our psychographics data to determine where to invest these limited resources that we have available. We're not using it to exclude or judge or commoditize anybody. We're using this data to be strategic and efficient and get the highest return on our investment possible. Because, just saying, if you are not profitable, you lose the right to keep doing business, right? So if you want to keep doing your difference-making work, hopefully you're doing some kind of social good in your community, you're providing something valuable, you earn the right to keep making that difference, to keep doing social good, to keep solving the most pressing problems in your own community through your business by being profitable. Yeah. So we want to be profitable so that we can continue whatever kind of good work that had you start a business and get into this anyway, right? So whatever your why is, right? Why you got into business. I've met so many business owners who their why they got into business is actually to mentor young people and provide good jobs in their community. Isn't that a cool thing? Like, they have a product or service, but it's not really what the business is created for. What it was really created for was because that person wanted to provide good jobs in the community and help mentor young people and teach them, financial education and such, right? And train them in, how to be a great employee, right? For their own future. So think about what your why is and know that you got to be profitable. That's the way you earn the right to stay in the game in business. So that's what I have to say on that. If you have an existing list of your past or current customers, you can go through that list, right? And look for commonalities, patterns, trends within that list. And this is going to give you some great information to know how to target your right avatar client. If let's say you're new to business, you're a startup, maybe you don't have an customer list or email list going yet. If you don't, that's okay. You can survey your prospects. You can survey them in person in a conversation. You can survey them over the phone or on Zoom, or you can use social media polls. You can use SurveyMonkey, right, to engage in a conversation with people who you think are your right prospect. And you're going to get feedback in the course of that and learn a lot about your prospect. Let's see. And we're going to come back to what to put in your surveys. By the way, I'm going to give you some survey questions that you can use with your prospects, if you like, just to get that good information and pull it out of them. So here's the psychographics side of life, right? Their thoughts, feelings, values, and attitudes. What do they value about your product or service? What do they value about your company? Maybe for some of you, there's certain things, values that your company has that you advertise, and your avatar buys from you because there's a values alignment between you and them. Yeah. What benefit will they get out of working with your product or service? So in your marketing, you always want to be speaking to benefits, right? What is in it for them? This is perhaps the most common mistake in marketing overall, by the way, that we as entrepreneurs, we make our marketing materials, we make them about us. We make them about our company, about our product, about our service, of course, right? I think we all do that. But then over time, we want to actually transition to where our marketing materials are about them. They're about the benefits to the prospect, right? We are talking to them, about the benefits they will get. And it's more about them than it is about us, our company, our product or service. That way, our marketing messaging is really going to resonate with them. So what features do they want about your product or service? What's important to them about your product or service? What are they willing to pay for a product like yours? Maybe there's particular payment options they would prefer, how they want to pay you. So it's good to find those things out, right? What will make it easy for them to do business with you? In marketing, we talk about friction, especially in online marketing. Friction means you put more work on the consumer. And when you put more work on the consumer, there's more steps they have to take in order to buy from you. They don't buy as much. They don't buy as often. So we want to reduce that friction and make it easy for them to engage with us, yeah, in the ways that they would prefer to engage with us. So we want to find out, what are the things they consider when they're shopping for someone like you or a product like yours? Where do they go to look for this particular kind of product or service? What's their buying process? What's their criteria, right? And how can you make sure that you're meeting their needs? So here's the really important part about messaging, right? And clarifying your brand language. You actually want to find out how your customer speaks about several things. One is the problem or challenge or frustration that they experience that would have them be interested in your product to begin with, right? How do they speak that problem? What is it that's occurring for them that's having them get interested, right? So you want to plug into that internal conversation by asking questions of your customer, your prospect, right? So you can start to listen to how they speak. When you start hearing more than once the same words and phrases, now you're onto something, right? These same words and phrases should probably be part of your brand language. Listen for how they speak about the solution or transformation or the ideal state that they want out of working with your product or service, right? Once you start to listen for these, you'll start to recognize them. Oh, if you have online reviews, that's another good one, right? If you have testimonials or online reviews, look at your list of online reviews, look at your testimonials and see how did people speak, the problem or frustration they had, and the solution or transformation or why they're happy with your product, and start to identify if there are repetitious words and phrases in those reviews or in those testimonials. These should likely be in your brand language, meaning you're going to use them everywhere you're marketing, right? They're going to be on your website. They're going to be in the way you speak your 1-minute pitch. They're going to be in your advertisements and so on. Yeah. And I mentioned here your brand language, for instance, your USP. So USP, or sometimes you hear UVP, that means unique selling proposition or unique value proposition, right? Sometimes it's called tagline too, right? Just the way you capture in a short sentence or phrase, right? The real value you offer and why you're different, maybe from other people in your industry. So how do you find out the psychographic intel? You talk to your customers and prospects. You listen to them. That's probably more important here, perhaps way more important than the talking part. So listen to them. And when I say listen, I don't mean listen in the regular way that we usually think of listening in conversations. We usually listen to respond, right? When we're listening to someone else, we're thinking about what we're going to say next, right? That is listening to respond. I recommend that you take on a new skill, right? Practice listening to understand. That is when someone else is speaking, you just be present with them and get what they're saying. And the purpose of getting what they're saying is to have them feel understood, not to respond, but to have them get gotten, to have them feel understood, to have them know that you really understand what they were expressing to you. So this is a great way to listen. It's a gift to people, for one. And it's also a way for you to really understand your customer. So as you listen to your customer, as you listen to your prospect, these people who meet this avatar client profile, you're going to listen for information that they might provide to you about what their needs are in terms of your product or service. You're listening for the way they speak it, right? The actual words and phrases. And you're also listening for insights, right? You might have an insight about, oh my gosh, people are buying my product for a reason I totally didn't even think of. And that's their main reason, right? So sometimes you learn something really great to know as a business owner by having these conversations. And, if the person will allow, you can even record these conversations, like hit the voice memo on your phone, ask them the question and let them speak, right? And I guarantee you, when you go back and listen to the recording of that conversation, you will catch stuff that you might not have caught when you're actually engaged with the person, right? Same thing is true of like focus groups, right? If you have a focus group and you're asking your prospects some questions, capture the audio if they'll allow, or the video if they'll allow, because when you go back, there's a lot of gold in those conversations, and you might not be able to catch it all while you're, tending to people. Yeah. So here's some good ways to get that psychographic intel. So you can do informational interviews with people, let's say on the phone or in person or on Zoom, where they let you pick their brain. Can I just ask you a few questions? Can we have coffee and can I pick your brain about this? Can I ask you a few questions about, why you bought my product and how it was for you working with me or working with my company and so on? Great. Set up those conversations and do some informational interviews. You can use polls on social media to ask questions. You can use SurveyMonkey to put some questions out there. Usually about 5 questions is a good length, right? To gather some information, right? And also you can do the focus group thing, like I just mentioned, which is just where you get some people together in a room and you find out, really what makes them tick related to your product or service. Do they like it? Do they not like it? What's important to them about it? What are their concerns about it? And so on, right? How do they shop when they shop for companies like yours? What are their concerns or objections? What's important to them about what's important to them to know in order for them to want to buy from you, right? So this can be some great information for you. And here are some potential survey questions for you. And I'll put these in your handout too, so you have them. What do you look for in a blah, blah, blah kind of product, right? And that's always interesting, right? To find out what are they specifically looking for. Maybe it's something different than you're touting in your marketing. And now you know what to say because you know what they're looking for. Where do you go for information if you are shopping for a certain kind of product? How much would you expect to pay for a particular kind of product? You can even ask, what would be the price where you would consider not buying? How high could the market bear, in other words, right? What would be the price where it seems too high and you would consider not buying based on that level of price? And ask them what that number is. What concerns do you have about the possibility of buying my product or service? That's really useful to know, right? So you can address those concerns preemptively in your marketing materials or in your sales conversations. What do you look for in a company that sells certain kind of products, right? So there might be things they're looking for about the product or service itself, and they might be looking for certain things about a kind of company they want to buy from. And there may be qualities or traits or values. Maybe they accept a certain kind of payment. They provide a certain kind of service. They offer free shipping. Just learn what it is that's important to your customer about your particular product or service and way of doing business, right? So that you can make it easy for them to do business with you. Okay, a few notes here on the kinds of buyers. For some of you, let's say you do business to consumer, B2C, and so your target, your avatar client is an individual, right? That could be the case for a lot of you. Maybe for others of you, you do B2B or B2G kind of business. And in that case, and even sometimes, depending on what kind of business you have, it could be in the B2C world as well. Sometimes you have multiple people involved in the buying decision, right? So you want to clarify who are all the people who are part of that buying decision. For instance, when I was doing web design, there are multiple people involved in the purchasing of a website. Maybe the owner of the company might have the final say. They might be what we call the economic or financial buyer, right? That's the person who can approve the budget to say yes, right? Who can sign the contract. But there might also be other people involved, like we would call them user buyer, right? That's the person who's going to actually be using your product or service. So maybe that's the person who administers the website. Customers of that business would also be user buyers, right? Maybe they want to give them some kind of say in the website design. Maybe there are partners that business does business with that they want to give them a say in how the website looks and feels or what functions it should have, right? And for some of you, you will have, if you do business to business or business to government, you might have an insider coach inside that company. And that is an ally that you cultivate and develop that will help you to navigate the buying process inside that company or inside that state agency, right? So if you do a B2G in particular, but also if you do B2B, if you can get an insider coach, right, to help you navigate the buying process of that particular company, that can be a great benefit. So just clarify for yourself which kind of buyers are involved in the buying decision, because you want to make sure you get them all to the table when you're going to have a sales conversation and a closing conversation and so on, right? Because if you try to get one buyer to make a buying decision, but there's actually other buyers involved, right? Maybe it's the spouse of the person. If you don't have that other person involved or those other people involved, then that's when things go south, right? Like one buyer is a yes, but another buyer said no, and you didn't have a chance to talk to that buyer, so they don't understand the benefits of your product or service or why this is the right fit for them, right? So you want to get all those participants in the decision-making to the table where you can, yeah? So just think about what this scenario looks like in your particular case. Okay, I want to show you now a couple examples of really speaking, like messaging, really speaking to your particular avatar client. And I'm going to leave my slides here for a minute and go and share with you my browser window. Hold on just a minute. Let me pull this up. And I'm going to show you some examples of brand language or messaging, right, that are really well done. Here we go. So this is the CarolynSoldo.com website. This is just one of a couple examples I use of extremely well thought out, precisely crafted brand language that speaks very particularly to her avatar client. So Carolyn Soldo is a lady who coaches. She coaches health coaches, life coaches, and business coaches, mostly women. And so you'll see her brand language is very specific, and you can tell by the way she speaks that she very much understands her avatar client and how we think and feel about growing our business. Yeah. So you can see the first thing that comes up here is free webinar, right? The 3-step business optimization system that quickly got us on the Inc. 5000 list, right? How cool is that? And then copy the system that quickly grew our coaching business online and got us on the Inc. 5000 list of America's most successful companies. So she is demonstrating, I know how to help you scale your business because I have scaled mine, right? And notice she's used the word quickly a couple of times here, right? That's because most people are struggling, thinking this is a challenge and it's taking forever and so on, right? And she's saying, I have a system that works quickly, yeah, to her avatar who wants to be, aspires to be successful in business like she has been. So if we close out of that pop-up, we can see here, she's actually, if you look at the rotating words here, she's actually using the words, her avatar, how we identify experts, powerhouses, visionaries, women leaders, feminine leaders, right? So she's saying, if you consider yourself to be a visionary, a coach, a powerhouse, an expert, a feminine leader, these things that her avatar either identifies that they already are or aspires to be, right? She's calling us out straight away, saying, this is for you, right? This is very particularly for you if you are any of these things, right? And she's saying also here what she's offering, powerful business scaling strategies for a particular avatar. Yeah. And if you scroll down the page, let's see here, we'll close out of that pop-up. You'll see she is going to hit us right in the heart here with her messaging. Scaling your business doesn't have to mean working more. Well, we all think it means we will have to work more, right? So she's kind of pattern interrupting the conversation in our head. And she says, if you know how to do it the elegant way. Well, don't we all as women want to be elegant, right? We would relate to this word. We would aspire to be elegant, right? And then if you look at her bullet points here, she says, do you feel like your income is maxed and you can't earn more in the same way you've been doing business, right? A lot of people feel stuck in that place. Are you on a revenue roller coaster where sometimes cash pours in and other months you struggle, right? Entrepreneurs can relate to that up and down, some months it's great. Other months, oh my gosh, need to get some sales in the door. Do you work too hard, too many hours, and are you burning yourself out, right? Again, she's hitting us right in the heart with the emotion we already feel about our circumstances, right? And then she's going to offer us some solutions. So these are all problem related, right? These are the challenge. She's speaking, hitting us right in the heart with the way we feel, what we struggle with, what our challenges are that we can't seem to overcome on our own. And then she's going to come next here after she kind of hits us right in the heart, what our problems are. So people are going, yep, that's me. Then she's going to offer us a solution. Let's scale your business with ease. Well, most of us don't think of scaling our business as something that would involve ease at all, right? And so again, she's doing kind of a pattern interrupt in our head saying, oh, I have a way you can do it with ease. Using our signature method, right? You can grow your business to 7 or 8 figures and become the most fascinating expert in your particular field. Our clients include experienced women business owners in service-based industries with one common goal: to grow their business with ease so they can impact more people and achieve their big vision, right? Who does not want to do that, right? So you see the very specific language around the problem and the very specific language around the solution, which we're all hungry for if we are her right type of client. Okay, I'll show you one more, which is this subtledistinctions.com website. This site is so great in terms of like the language is very simple, direct, and clear, right? It's a consulting company, training company, and they're like, direct your destiny. Don't we all want to do that, right? Create the future that we actually want. They're offering us this possibility. Here is where they're saying what we do. They offer integrative coaching for individuals, business leaders, and teams. And they've also, by the way, in the first screen are giving us a call to action. Actually, we've got 2 calls to action, 2 buttons that are call to action buttons right in the first screen. That's fantastic. Let's see. So again, here's part of their brand language. We work at the source of all opportunity and success. The heart set, the mindset, and the skill set of your people. Isn't that interesting? I've never heard the word heart set anywhere else. So they've coined this term, and they're speaking to the mindset of the staff, not just the skill set. So I hope you can, look at these sites some more if you like, and kind of delve into and notice these nuances within their brand language. Here's where they are talking about the problem, the customer experiences, dysfunctional teams, wasted resources, unmet outcomes. These are the frustrations and challenges of their prospect. Then they're going to offer their solution, right? And they're telling how they're going to get you to that solution. So hope that's helpful, and you can check them out some more if you want to just see this really great example in either case of good brand language and messaging. Okay, I'm going to come back over here. Just have a few more slides. Okay, so we looked at these examples. And now I'm going to show you actually there are, and I hope each one of you will, out of this conversation, will make a buyer persona, an avatar client persona sheet. And it's just a visual way to start to clarify your avatar client. So I'm going to show you a number of different templates that you can use to do this, or you can make your own in Canva or PowerPoint, something like that. But there's a lot of great templates out there, and usually they include an image of your avatar, right? Whatever that person looks like, maybe it's somebody who looks the age or the, fits the demographics of your avatar client. Some people use a photo of a person. Some people use a caricature or a piece of artwork, right? That looks like your avatar client. And then all around that image of your avatar client person, You're going to have information, right? Maybe this has their demographic information. This has their professional information. You know, what industry are they in? What job title do they have? Who do they report to? How is their success measured in their job? That kind of thing, especially if you're doing B2B. It could be values and fears, goals and challenges, hobbies and interests of your particular avatar. And also include, you know, what are their concerns or objections that come up in the buying process for your particular product or service. So hopefully each one of you will make something like this. If you have a business plan, or if you plan to write a business plan, usually this avatar client persona is one of the things we include in the marketing section of the business plan. And it helps your lender or anybody else reading your business plan to understand that you actually have done the work to research your ideal client and that you know who it is and you know the conversation that's going on in their head, right? So it's one of the things you can do to demonstrate, hey, I've done my homework. I know exactly who I need to market to and how I'm going to reach them and what the messaging I'm going to use is. Here is another example. And by the way, the websites that these came from, none of these are mine. These are all created by others. And the websites that they came from are on each of the slides here. But they'll be on the handout as well that you'll get. So this is another way of looking at your buyer persona, right? And each section of the page has some different questions that you could ask your prospect or your customer to better understand, you know, what's important to them when it comes to buying your product or service. Why did they buy? Who influences them? What platforms are they on? Is there a certain timing about the purchase of your product or service, right? That really matters in a lot of different businesses, right? Some of us have kind of an evergreen kind of product that people buy at any point in time. Some of us have a very specific time in which a certain product or service would be appropriate. This is an example of a B2B avatar client profile, right? So we're identifying who we're selling to is they have a job title called warehouse manager, right? And so we've got caricature of the person and some information about them, some demographic information and some psychographic information and information about the dynamics within their company, right? How is their performance measured? If you're marketing to other businesses, it's good to know, you know, that buyer over there, what's important to them in terms of their company. Can you help them make their metrics in the company? What would make them look good in front of their peers, right? These are good things to know. What's important to them that will make the deal work out great for them. Here's another format, right? Where you can have, let's say in this case, it's a doctor, maybe you have a little bio about them, some different kinds of information about them, and even something about the personality or communication style the person's likely to have. That'd be really interesting, right? It can help you communicate with them in the way they like to be communicated with. So as you do this research, you're going to develop your own brand language, the language around the problem, around the solution, and around, let's say, your unique selling proposition or the way you say your unique value proposition. Let's see here. You're going to use this language throughout all your materials. You might use this brand language in your offers. If you advertise, you might have an offer in your advertisements. And those offers should use, the way you speak the offer should include your good brand language. Yeah, that will really resonate with this avatar. So your unique selling proposition or unique value proposition is going to answer the question, you know, why should I buy from you versus everyone else in your industry? And if you can actually come up with a good answer for that question, it will really distinguish you from everybody else in your industry. Here's some example unique selling or unique value propositions that, like Domino's Pizza built their whole business on this unique selling proposition, right? So the brand language is very specific here. Fresh, hot pizza in 30 minutes or less, guaranteed. And it changed and has evolved over time, but that's the one that built the company, right? So you can see by offering a distinct, different from other pizza companies, value proposition, actually made the company grow exponentially into wherever it is now. You recognize this other one here, right? When it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. That is the unique value proposition language that FedEx used to create a whole new market that wasn't even there before, called overnight delivery. So as you develop your unique value proposition, I'm giving you a few slides on this because it's so important in how you express the benefits. It can also be important for your 1-minute pitch, right? How you speak your 1-minute pitch. If you go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting or something like that, right? Or maybe you go to your local downtown association meeting and you get a chance to do an introduction, right? You need a succinct way to speak what you do that will get others interested, especially your avatar. So these will be in your handout as well. You know, you could say, I help so-and-so kind of person with so-and-so kind of problem so they can have some kind of fantastic outcome. I help so-and-so kind of person accomplish a certain thing that they want in a short period of time, like the Carolyn Soldo example. I help people accomplish something they want so that they can whatever, have a great experience. Or I do X so that Y kind of person can get to have, do, or be some particular thing that they want or aspire to be. Yeah. Okay, so those are the two examples we looked at. So next steps would be to, hopefully you've been making a list, right, of your own next steps, given wherever you're starting from and however clear you came to this table, regarding your avatar client. What are your own personal next steps? Maybe you need to do a little demographics research, maybe some psychographics research work, engaged with your prospect or customer. And you could make an ideal client persona for yourself. So you can use the conversations, interviews, surveys, all this information that you begin to assemble to then develop and test your brand language in your advertising and start to notice the feedback that you get. Okay, so with that, I'm going to say, let's shift over to questions now and dig into, how to apply this in your particular situation and get some of your questions answered here. This is my information, and Mandy knows where to find me too.
Yeah, so it looks like we do have one question. How would you alter any of this advice for someone who isn't in business? So they don't really have clients to gather customer list demographics, purchase patterns.
So how could you use this information if you don't have a business? That's the question.
You're not in business yet, so.
Oh, not in business yet. Okay, that's a big distinction. Okay, good. So it'd be great to do this exercise. You'll be ahead of your peers once you get started. If you do this exercise early on, right up front. So you could start to engage with who you think will be your prospects to gather information. And if you do that, and that's actually what the lean startup people really suggest, is that, you go out and, figure out who do you really want to make a difference with, start talking to them, right? And find out what they need and want related to the kind of product or service you want to provide, and then design the product or service just for them, right? Design it in such a way that it very specifically meets their needs. So if you have not yet started your business, you actually have the opportunity to do that, right? To engage in that conversation with your prospects in advance, find out exactly what they need and want so you can produce it in the way they want to buy it. So yeah, you can utilize all of this, especially if you're not started yet, right? And that will actually get you started down the right road, producing the product or service that your people actually want to buy from you. Let's see, what else did we have here? Oh, thank you, Mandy, for putting links into the chat as we're going here. Appreciate that.
Looks like we have another question. I work for a massage therapist company, so our services range to all ages and demographics. Where would you start on finding our core avatar?
Yeah, well, just because your product or service can be used by everybody doesn't mean that it is most used by everybody. I'll just put it like that. So again, a lot of people can engage with you if no matter which kind of business you have, right? If somebody comes and says, I want to buy something from you, you're probably going to say yes, right? And include them. However, you're going to spend that limited marketing money that you might have to reach a very particular kind of client. So if I had a massage business, for instance, then I would look through my existing client list and see what do I suspect is the age demographic of each of my clients, and then determine, oh, okay, out of my whole list, let's say 50% are millennials. Like, okay, that's useful to know. Millennials' primary social media platform is Instagram. Therefore, I know that Instagram is the platform I should be spending my most time on, or that I should be paying for ads on to reach that millennial audience. Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, look for trends in your existing client list. So even though everyone or a lot of different folks can engage with you, look for actually who is engaging with you, who's purchasing from you, period, right? Who is buying? What is their age demographic? Also, who is buying the most often? So maybe you have, boomers that are coming in as well, and they're coming in every week, right? That could tell you something about your client list as well. So see who's on your client list, what's their age demographic, maybe what's their profession, and who's saying yes, right? They're saying yes because they're buying, right? So who's buying and who is buying the most, and then who's buying the most frequently. And that might help you figure out where to target. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. So even though you might have millennials as the most common, they might not be buying the most often.
That could be. Yeah. You could say, millennials are one subset that I want to market to because I want to keep bringing in, new clients, let's say from that group. Or I could say, oh, these people over here are buying every week, or they're coming in, religiously once every 2 weeks, and I want more of those kind of clients. And if that's the case, then you would market to that group. Let's see here. So I see something here about why. I think I'm asking myself, why am I going into business? Will greatly help. Yes. And there's a great book called Start With Why. It's by Simon Sinek. And Simon Sinek also has a 10-minute TED Talk that you can access online called Start With Why, right? And it helps you just remember, why you got started in business to begin with, and let that motivation or that why, why you started, what your vision was from the get-go, right, can help you with your branding and your messaging and so on, right? Staying connected with that why is I think super important in business, right? Helps you. Your why is the reason that you overcome all the obstacles that you overcome in business. Yeah. So it's good to stay present to clarify what your why is, and also to stay present to what your why is as things progress in your business. Yeah, it can help you make decisions. You can use it as a litmus test. Like, oh, okay, is this in alignment with my why, or will this actually distract me, take me off course from why I'm here, right? My vision and my mission. And that can be a test, is if I make this choice, let's say to add a product line or add a product, is this going to further my mission and vision or not? Is it going to further my why or not? Should I take this speaking opportunity or not? Right? Well, will it forward my mission and vision, my why? Okay, great. Then it's clear, I'm a yes. Or if it's takes me off purpose from that why, then I know, oh yeah, don't go there. Can't say yes to that one, right? It's not in alignment for me. Okay. Any other questions as we're thinking about all this, how to apply this information in your own scenario?
I'm not seeing any.
Okay, wonderful. Well, in that case, I'll just say thank you so much for carving out the time to be here, be engaged, and garner something from this conversation. And I hope that you take what I gave you and just go create something really, really cool for yourself out of it, right? This conversation can impact the future of your business in a big way if you let it, right? If you do the work of what I suggested today, suddenly you could start getting a lot better return on investment on your marketing dollars, which I hope you will. Yeah, I hope you take me up on that.
Perfect. Well, as usual, thank you, Liz. We really appreciate all of your knowledge and information that you've shared with us today. Just to give everyone a little heads up, we will have Liz back again May 19th at 11 a.m. We're going to discuss how to get more leads and increase your sales. We also will have another webinar on May 16th at 11 for small business resources for veterans. So be sure to check our page, wyomingcommunitynavigator.org, where our events are located, to be able to register for those upcoming webinars. Once again, thank you everyone for attending, and we're really excited to have Liz back on May 19th. Everyone have a great Friday and a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.